who seem quite calm and happy, I should say, which is a wonderful introduction. That's one of them, acknowledging that. It's time for now Live Music Friday on BPR. At the interview desk, we're joined by someone we've hosted on the show before, pianist, composer, Berkeley professor Kevin Harris. Kevin, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to see you guys, too.
Also here, someone who's performed on Live Music Friday, but I think for the first time is being interviewed, Gabriela Díaz. It's great to have you, co-artistic director for Winsor Music. Together, they're collaborating on a performance of something called Pulse. We'll hear about it in a minute, melding the worlds of jazz and chamber music into something really special. We've heard a taste of it this morning. Their show capping off the third ever Mission Hill Arts Festival is tomorrow, August 19th. Tomorrow, 6 p.m.
Yes.
At the Yard at the Tobin Community Center. That's, of course, in Mission Hill. More info is available at mhartsfest.org. Kevin and Gabby, it's great to have you both. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We can't wait to hear you play again. So, start with you, Kevin. What is Winsor Music? Explain to people.
So, Winsor Music, I had the opportunity now to collaborate with them. It's a wonderful group. They are educators. They are active in the community. And they also commission composers like myself. And so I have the privilege to compose this piece, Pulse, with them.
So, Gabby, what Margery meant to say was, so Gabby, what is Winsor Music? What is Winsor Music? Why don't you add a little to what Kevin had to say?
Well, Kevin said it beautifully.
He did?
He did, yes.
Okay.
But it's a chamber music and community engagement organization that's been around for 27 years, actually.
Explain what community engagement means, because so many people use it in such a BS kind of way, and I know you don't. Explain what community engagement means to Winsor Music.
Well, Winsor has a couple of different areas that we're very active. We have a regular performing series where we give 4 concerts a year, and this year they'll all be in Brookline. But we also, our sort of real investment in the community goes along with we have a scholarship fund for kids of color to attend summer music camps, because that's such an important part for a young person to have this sort of engagement with music and enthusiasm, being around other people who love music as a young person. And we also play in senior centers and retirement homes and have had a huge presence in hospitals around Boston.
Didn't we read that there was a patient at one hospital who scheduled her visits
That's true.
to coincide with you?
With
I mean,
us
how
being
beautiful
there.
is that?
It was really meaningful. I mean, I think for us at Winsor, building community by really giving music to people who need it and maybe don't know that they need it, but for sure the playing in hospitals and being able to connect with people in this way is something that we believe really strongly in.
Well, you talked about in one of these pieces I read the healing power of music, and I think we've heard this so many times when we've talked to professional musicians. What do you mean by that, healing power?
Music, it's not a cliche to say that it's so powerful, and it's sometimes when we're going through something difficult or going through something joyful, music can help us access these emotions that are sometimes hard to talk about. And also just the fact that music is such a communicative thing. So, we're really communicating with strangers and friends and with each other. And it's such a beautiful way to really bring us together. And in cases like in the hospital playing, really hope that we're helping people deal with sort of harder times.
Well, also when the world's a mess. I mean, the first person who ever said this to us was Andres Nelson, standing right there from the BSO, explaining exactly the value of music and times that are painful for everybody. So how did this connection come about there?
So this piece that I've composed is called Pulse, and there are a few movements that we'll be playing for you guys today. The second movement, which is titled Curiosity, we're going to get around to playing that one. The first one we're going to start off with is the third movement, and it's called Equilibrium. And there's just a little story behind all of that, because I consider it very important as a composer to just kind of understand the macro and the micro, understanding what it is to be a violinist, to be a trumpet player, but also to have the perspective on how does all of that come together. My first instrument was the trumpet, and I did not play it that well. I also, as an educator, I had to learn how to play these different instruments in the ensemble. So I sat third clarinet, third, trombone and all of this. But eventually the curiosity that leads to how does all of this work together allows me to be a better composer.
Speaking of how this works together, Margery, I think, hinted at it when she was teasing this segment in a minute. This is sort of, I don't know if I'm using the proper terminology, sort of a fusion of jazz and
right.
classical
Which is
music,
very
which is
different.
an unusual kind of.
Yeah.
So does that
Yeah.
make you nervous or no?
No. Oh, okay, so, and the reason why it doesn't is because I do have some classical, well, a good amount of classical training myself. But as a jazz pianist, and you know, majority of the time when I'm performing, it's usually jazz. But also, these fantastic musicians also improvise a lot. And so writing music for them wasn't that difficult because they do
Classical
both.
musicians are improvising?
Yes, they do.
They
Yes.
do
Yeah.
here. How do they feel about that, Gabby?
Oh, Gabby, that's all you. Tell us. That's all you. Tell us.
Are they okay with that?
We love it. The thing that it was wonderful on Kevin's part was that it's sort of like gentle improvisation for us, where like we don't have to be a skilled jazz musician to be able to do the kind of improvisation that he's asking us to do. So it has constraints and ideas for us to be able to improvise on, which makes it so that we feel really good about what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I read also, Gabby, where you started piano, I think at age 5, violin at age 6. Did you start really early too, Kevin? Because it seems like this is a common denominator among the musicians we talked to. They began their musical training at a very early age. How about you?
For me, I think my first experience in music was the Black gospel tradition.
In church? Yeah.
So the voice, even from a compositional perspective, and relating a little bit to what you guys were talking about earlier in the previous segment, like babies, younger kids singing out loud almost everywhere is a part of the culture. And I'm not sure if I would be here today if it wasn't for that.
So you might have been like 2 or 3 years old when you were first listening to the
everything.
music in church.
Now, I started to play the piano when I was 14, so
Okay.
later. Like I said, there was some trumpet playing in there that I'm doing my best to forget
By
about.
the way, when Margery was 3, she was rehearsing "Welcome Back to Full River Public Radio," and she was.
Hey now.
So, you want to go play?
Yeah,
We're dying
let's
to
do it,
hear
let's do it. Yeah.
We're really excited. We heard a little bit of rehearsal before. This is Kevin Harris and Gabriela Díaz, and we'll hear who their partners are in a couple of seconds. And this is a selection from Movement 3, Equilibrium. I got them in the right order, correct, Kevin?
Yes.
Yes? I did? Well, here they are. Kevin and Gabby please rejoin us? That was fabulous.
Well, you can certainly tell why
Wow.
it's called Pulse as well, with the bass player keeping that pulse all the way through that piece. That was incredible. Do you want to introduce the members of your ensemble? Do you want to do it, Gabby?
So we have David Russell on
Hey,
cello.
Hey.
Yay! Rane Moore, also co-artistic director of Winsor Music, on clarinet. Elizabeth England on oboe. And Max Ridley on bass.
Keeping the pulse.
Yes, keeping the pulse.
Okay. So tell us about this festival that's going on this weekend. What's happening?
Well, Louisa Harris, who is the artistic director. And
Do you know
also-
her, by the way?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're pretty close.
Okay.
She happens to be my wife.
Yes.
She deserves the trophy. Definitely. So this is the 6th successful concert of this summer. It's our 3rd annual Mission Hill Arts Festival, and she's just doing a wonderful job curating a lot of great projects.
You know what? We celebrate free things here, but I have to say I love the intentionality of the non-freeness of this thing on the part of Louisa. Can you describe what the thinking is about charging here, please, if you would?
I appreciate you asking that question. She can talk about that a lot better than I do, but on behalf of musicians, just in general, it's nice that when we perform, at least people understand that there is a value. Oftentimes when we perform, many musicians will say, well, I performed at a space yesterday and they expected us to not charge anything or charge very, very little. So I appreciate the precedent that she wants to set by saying, this is how much this art is worth in this particular. She could speak on that a lot better.
Well, I think you did it quite well. I think that's great.
I mean, the tremendous talent. And, you know, I mean, we get paid to do this. You guys are extraordinary musicians. You should get paid to do that as well. And especially when you think of how, particularly in classical and jazz, I mean, you don't see these big salaries coming in, right? It's,
even perhaps it can even kind of be broken down as simple as if you have a plumber.
Exactly.
Or if you have or something like that, just kind of what the bottom range, top range is going to be. But when you go to hire a musician, like it should be the same thing, So that's
your wife
kind
would be proud, my friend. Let me tell you right now, you did it.
There you go.
How does it feel to play? I mean, this is not your typical deal here, Gab. How does it feel playing Pulse?
It's so much fun. We were so thrilled, first of all, that Kevin even agreed to write a piece for us with Winsor. Yay. And then it just turned, one of the things with commissioning pieces, which is something Winsor believes in so much, is there is a little bit of an unknown that you don't know what will happen. Usually it's awesome. But this turned out just to be such an incredible experience. And also, for us as classically trained musicians working with jazz musicians, we all are speaking a very similar language, but in slightly different ways. Mm-hmm. And it's just been so fun to work with Max and Kevin putting this piece together. Thank you.
Before you go back to play again, because we don't want to miss any part of it, we're going to give the web address again if people want to go to the Mission Hill Arts Festival tomorrow. How do they find Winsor?
Winsor is windsormusic.org, and there's no D in there, so WINSOR music.org.
We're really glad to have you both. Good luck tomorrow. Do you want to return to your colleagues?
Yeah, and I'll mention
this is a selection from Movement 2, Curiosity, correct? Thank you, Kevin.
We'll say this again, but I'll say it now too. The concert is tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at the Yard at the Tobin Community Center in Mission Hill. If you want to get tickets, go to mhartsfest.org. That's mhartsfest.org. And here's the second performance from Winsor.
It's coming together.
Can you turn on my mic for 1 second? Can someone turn it? Let me just say, while they're preparing to play here, the music is beautiful if you're listening on the radio or watching on YouTube. Watching these people play is a whole other dimension. It is so beautiful watching the 6 of you. So I really encourage people to show up tomorrow. Kevin, you ready? Here they go.
6 at Winsor Music, Tobin Community Center in Mission Hill. Tomorrow night at 6. For more info, go to mhartsfest.org. That's mhartsfest.org. Coming up after the new news,
That was
GBH's
great.
Callie
That was
Crossing
really
is
great.
back.